Okay, it's all yours.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Lovettsville 20180 Liberty Radio 45-minute hour.
Yeah, or so.
Or so on July 18th, Monday, July 18th.
Yeah, and I'm Warner Workman, president, owner, chief cook and bottle washer of Minuteman Arms, and you are?
I'm the waiter. I'm Darcy Shaka, sidekick.
So, we're going to start out this episode talking about what I just talked about. Was
Why?
I work in a corporate headquarters building down in Chantilly, and I walked out and I noticed the flags at half mast, and I asked myself, what the hell for, right? Because it's always at half mast anymore, right? So it's every day. The insanity continues.
Yeah. I mean, Kim asked that the other day. What was the last day we worked together? Saturday. She says, "Why is the flag at half staff?" I'm like, which incident?
No, absolutely, yeah. I assume it's past the Orlando thing, but we're
way past Orlando. We've gone to Baton Rouge. We've gone to
Dallas.
Minneapolis. We've gone to Dallas.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Nero, otherwise known as Barry, what's his last name?
Nero. You lost me for a second.
Oh, the Roman dictator who played the fiddle. But he lives in the White House now. We call him POTUS. Most people call him Nero.
He does have a Caesar haircut.
I know he does. Yeah. No, it's just sick. I mean,
it is
we
sick.
can't get off
this. It is sad. It is scary. And think about poor France. We didn't even talk about that. It's not just at home.
Was that?
It was in Nice, France. Was the last one where the guy ran him over with the truck.
We got to clearly ban assault trucks, right? I wouldn't mind them banning salt trucks because I just had all this work done on my car because of the rust.
Point? Because France doesn't allow guns?
Yeah. No, and that's the thing what people don't get is, evil, right, is not constrained by mere things like laws and legal constraints, right?
No, and so, they're going to do what they want to do, and they're going to find a way to do it.
Yeah, and it goes back to... whether it's, murder, suicide, any kind of violence or whatever. I mean, people are going to do it at some point.
Do you know what a guy that lives here from France said to me? He says they use screwdrivers there because you can't get a gun. If you can't get a gun, you get a screwdriver. What would you rather have? I mean, honestly, not that that's any good conversation, but it's...
I tell you, a paper cut kills me. Right? I can't imagine...
Seriously, what are we going to do? I mean, it is scary.
No, absolutely.
The thing is that, and I think we're already partially desensitized to the fact that it happens almost every day. Oh man, did that hurt?
I don't have anything in it, but I'm going to fake it the whole time.
You do? Okay, well,
so we're professionalizing this.
I'm not. What are we doing with this? I'm not even going to show you guys.
Well, you blew it, but what I was going to do was just, throughout the show, I was just going to grab a different one every time and see if anybody noticed.
I think next time we'll have a test on this one.
That's what I was going to do. But I like this one the best in honor of the Brits,
keep calm and make tea.
Breaking away from the tyrannical EU.
And they're calling them every phobic known to man because they actually want to protect themselves.
Yeah. I'm tyrannical phobic.
Me too. Can we cheers to that?
Yeah. No,
I mean, our poor officers. I'm telling you what. If my husband was a cop right now, I'd be like, you need to retire.
My son is, he went to criminal justice, but actually chose not to go. He was trying to get a Fed job, CIA or FBI or whatever. But he never wanted to do local law enforcement. And, he had an opportunity, but he
they are brave souls anyway to do what they do. Yeah. But in today,
Yeah. Now you know that, you're actually being sort of hunted down, right? Not just some crime of passion. It's actually hunting you down like...
how must that feel?
Elephants in Africa or something,
I just want everybody to know, we love cops. I love officers.
Everyone, especially everyone
when I can afford it and I make enough money, I'll do your hair for free.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like that.
Anyhow.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Because I came this close.
That close.
To getting on WMAL.
Really?
And you know why? On a Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday after work, I had to drive into Sterling, okay? There's
We
the
have that
same
one fly.
freaking...
Yeah, the funny thing is, I killed one earlier, but I couldn't tell if there was two or not. But I killed one. I thought,
yours just lives forever in here.
know.
You keep feeding them.
no, absolutely.
Anyhow, I came this close to getting on WMAL. I don't know who the guy, Steve, in the afternoon on Saturday. I don't know because I don't listen on Saturday normally. And so they were talking about all the craziness going on, and he was just talking about how the true message never gets out because of the liberal media. And this is constantly my question.
Yeah.
Why, how, and when did the news media become so liberal and so democratic? So when you have these people, pick the little Today Show pups and puppies, okay?
Yeah.
These kids, they go to school, they're just like you and me.
Yeah.
Where did they go over the edge in their values, common sense, and where we came from? Why are they on the dark side? And why if I was one of them, could you sit up there and not talk about the deaths of these officers and everything else with a straight face and leave out, talk about lying by omission? That's their favorite thing.
Yeah.
When did that happen? Why is
to be honest with you, the press has always been somewhat liberal. So when you talk about migrating out of sort of the 60s, right? So I think the sort of the power of the press really grew in the 70s, early 70s, in the anti-war movement.
Okay.
Right. I mean, that's when I was, I was attentive at that time, right? And so I really don't know what it was like in the 60s, but I always felt like the 60s were a little bit more, honest and upfront, than the 70s and on, right?
As far as politicians go, or just in general?
No, of the media.
Okay, the media.
We're talking news, okay. Right? And so, for and there was obviously they were very anti-war, and they covered it because bottom line is it pays the bills, right? So when you see demonstrators and when you see the shootings at Kent State and all these other things that happen, I mean, you make money off it, right? The news does, right? But they were always bent that way anyway, right? So now all of a sudden you get into, they loved being able to bash Richard Nixon, right? Because of the, I'm not a crook thing, right? And what happened was, they elect Jimmy Carter, right? And he drives the country into the ground, much like our current POTUS, right? And then, but they had this thing for Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was so successful; he was such a great communicator.
Yeah, how did they treat him? Because honestly, I don't really remember.
Oh, they just trashed him endlessly.
Oh, okay. Well, that would make sense.
Yeah, they just constantly made fun of him. The fact that he was a movie star, the fact that he made movies with the little monkey there. I forget what the monkey's name was, right? And he played in, One for the Gipper, that kind of stuff. But he was just so effective, really, in leading our nation out of the economic malaise of socialism, which is what Jimmy Carter brought to us, right?
Right.
And so at that point, they gave up any pretense of honest journalistic reporting, right? They were just rabid anti, anything other than, socialism.
So I guess you just, when you're in that environment every day, I guess you just somehow end up buying into it. You just believe it because that's all you're hearing?
You don't know what causes it. In other words,
it's so lack of common sense and there's so much disconnect and everything.
Yeah. The question is, are they evil and thus go into it, or do they go into it
and become evil? Right.
Yeah, you don't know which one.
Happening?
Yeah, that I don't know. I think most of these people, I think it's like, they're just sort of drawn to it, especially the way it is now. I think for the same reason people, move to the beach and all that other stuff.
It's just the total hypocrisy of everything. Like, they're saying that Trump, what does he do? He promotes the violence at his. He canceled one because of them.
Meanwhile,
you guys are the ones showing up with it. Why are you blaming him?
Meanwhile, you have BLM out there actively telling people, to be violent against Trumpers, the right.
Right, but then it's going to be our fault when they are.
No, absolutely, yeah. Well, here's the bottom line. So let's start back at Nice, right? So, we have a guy, so he's a Muslim. Mm-hmm. And he's from where?
He was from France.
Well, okay.
I mean, he lived there.
But he was.
I don't know what.
I'll say his parents were immigrants from. Was it Somalia or Ethiopia?
I don't know.
But let's just say he was non-Caucasian.
Right.
Right. And he was a Muslim. Right. And then obviously he got an assault truck.
Right.
Right. And the amazing thing is he told the guards, because actually trucks were not allowed in there. Right. He told the guards, "Oh, I got ice cream in the back. If you don't let me in real soon, it's all going to melt." So in his effort to save the melting ice cream, right, he ran over a bunch of people. Right?
Yeah,
how many people died total?
86 from the truck, but there was also a guy shooting, I thought, or am I wrong about that?
Who knows anymore, right? I'm not 100% sure how that worked out.
Because if they can't have guns, how did one guy get a gun? But obviously somehow he did, unless he got one from. I don't know. Yeah. I've never been there.
And what amazes me about their emphasis on France is because France is fairly open.
It's not like they can.
Yeah, I mean, because they're one of probably the most liberal across the board, right, of any country in Europe, and especially accommodating. I mean, the reality is they occupied northern Africa for centuries probably or whatever. And
you and me.
Yeah, but yeah, and all of a sudden they just sort of take people out, right? And so this is unfortunate, and it was on their Bastille Day, which is sort of something
like their Independence Day. Yep.
But they didn't see their Independence didn't quite.
And ISIS claimed responsibility.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
But it was probably a.
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't take long, right, for this to occur again.
Disgruntled employee from somewhere, though.
Yeah, it didn't take long for the Fly. They should make a movie of that. Fly.
See, it takes forever though to find out who these people. There wasn't. It was bad. It landed on you and threw up and stuff like that. Maybe that could be our weapon of choice. Flies that throw up on you.
No, absolutely.
Massive. Yeah. That would
maybe we could engineer a Zika virus or something. I think that's already been done as well, right?
Yeah. Our first person's died of Zika virus in the U.S.
So in the last week, we've had obviously numerous cop killings. I mean, they're assassinations, right?
Oh yeah.
And the reality is nobody wants to admit it, but as far as I know, they were all had Muslim backgrounds. So sure enough, the guy in Baton Rouge was a former Nation of Islam member. Well, I was focusing on the the Muslim aspect of it.
Right.
Yeah.
They all are, except for one I heard in the news today. Was that the Baton Rouge one?
Yeah.
Wasn't.
No, well, he was a member at one point of some Muslim Brotherhood thing.
They were playing something that he was saying because it was just before his 29th birthday.
No, absolutely.
So he recorded himself talking. I didn't actually hear it. I wasn't able to.
Yeah, I just can't even stand to,
I know. I don't even want to. Exactly. Because that's exactly what they want. They,
Yeah.
Look at me, I'm crazy, hear me roar. And
the sad part about it is, and again, I go back to that I'm shocked, but not really shocked, that there's not universal condemnation, right? So immediately, POTUS, goes on, but, the fact that, dang fly. I did try to hunt him down and kill him, but, I thought using my
Where's your fly
shotgun. I need one. I got a little.
Did you have an assault fly swatter?
But the sad part about that whole event, or I'm sorry, the POTUS, right? So he immediately goes out and says, well, if the cops would just admit that they're, bad and evil, things would be better off, And so again, I sort of go back to, that's like those faked POW World War II videos, like either Japanese or even what the Iranians did here recently, right? They take some American hostages and then they parade them up there. It's like, oh, I'm being treated great, and it's like being at Club Med here in the POW camp. I get plenty of food. As soon as barbecue over, I'll have steak. It's just the insanity.
The insanity.
But he blames them.
Well, so did Hillary. What did she say today? Like, if they could just settle down, like if they could just be good cops.
No, absolutely.
Because they really go out there and take their oath to just,
Yeah. Like there's part of some right.
Do you know any? Squad, they must know some. I mean,
well, I think the Clintons have hired plenty. I think that's why if you're a fob, your life expectancy is substantially less if you break from the party.
What must those people think that work for them?
Oh, hey, I guarantee you that's why Comey, right, said, I don't think we're going to prosecute. I want to see. I want to see my retirement.
Absolutely, I want my children to like see tomorrow.
No, absolutely, and not find
How about the DNC that just downtown DC?
No,
that
absolutely.
Gets, I'm out jogging. Oh, what happened to him? I don't know. Nobody knows him anyway, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Number 37.
Yeah, no, it's not a pretty picture to be a father.
It would be. I'm telling you what. It is downright scary.
Oh, they should make a movie on it, right?
It's exactly what movies are made of.
No, absolutely.
And the whole time you're watching movies, you're going, "Oh my God, can't you figure this out? Oh my God, can't you figure this
absolutely.
out?"
And the sad part, I won't say funny, the sad part about this whole POTUS thing, right? Because again, you sort of look for your leaders to lead, right? And so they don't have to be dictatorial.
To unite and lead us all as one.
Yeah. Now it's funny you say that because I actually used that term in my weekly thing. See, do you pre-read my stuff?
Actually, I read like a week or two behind.
No, I just turned it in today. Let's say Monday. I just turned it in today, but I talked about how the Democrats divide, right? And that Republicans need to...
By race, by gender.
Yeah. But I say my thing is that Republicans need to focus on pluribus unum.
Absolutely.
Out of many, one. Right?
Exactly.
And the Democrats, do that just the opposite.
But okay, even if you are one, don't eventually you got to come here and say, you know what? If we unite, we can stay safe. It's just like Trump said: if we don't have borders, we don't have a country.
No, absolutely, yeah. Well, Michael Savage, who I listen to, I don't particularly care for, but
he's not the most. He is the least popular one on that.
He is, but he's got a big audience, which I was just sort of amazed. Oh, there goes my phone. The president's calling. He's telling me, shut up.
Yet. When that happens, I am leaving your ass. I'm kidding. You got to stand for something, or you'll fall for anything.
But he always talks about it's language, borders, and culture. Right.
Yeah.
And so that is what defines a nation.
A nation. Right.
And so, again, I've been doing this, basically a little self-study on, the expansion of Rome, right, throughout Europe, and just, how civilizations became nation states, right?
Okay.
And, the reality was, it just, everybody was just like a little tribe. Right. There was no language, or there was no border, and there was minimal culture. You may have a language, right? But the reality is, when nations came into being, right, they were defined by borders, language and culture,
right? Exactly.
And so many of the time, the borders were defined by geological means, right? There was a river, there was a mountain range, you were an island, whatever the case may be. Right. I'm actually doing a little study now on the British invasion, basically, of Ireland, right? And so it was really interesting. I didn't know anything about it. So when the Brits came over, the Brits, ended up maintaining Roman-style living, i.e. having cities, having buildings having roads, little things like that. But the next island over, Ireland, they were just all these, tribes, basically, right? And so, the British came in and civilized them, right? And they actually built fortresses and, all kinds of stuff, right? But anyway, nations are defined by language, cultures, and border, and then that's why when you just flood it with anybody and everybody, and don't recognize sovereignty and statehood and citizenship, right? It's just anarchy.
And that's why we call the third world's banana republics, because it is anarchy. And go visit one and you'll see the difference. Will you want to come back home? I'm telling you, you're going to want to come back home.
Yeah. Well, and, this week was a busy week, right? So we had Turkey as well, right? So we had the coup attempt.
Okay, so I need some explanation on that, because my reading comprehension obviously is not up to par. Of course, 11 o'clock at night. Yeah. So the coup is against the president, the
current president,
what's his name?
Yeah,
Erdogan or whatever.
Gobbler.
So, the Gobbler. So he was put in there through a democracy. Am I right?
So yes.
But now he's trying to be more.
Yeah, he ran as a centrist, but in reality he's an Islamic extremist.
Okay.
And he is slowly, much like
what's happening
POTUS,
here.
Right? Yeah. He has packed and stacked all government agencies and stuff to support that extremist Islamic agenda, right?
So it was some of his military police that were saying, "I've had enough of this."
Yeah. And the reality is, and I don't know a lot about this, and I'm sure somebody out there in TV land, will correct me on it.
Right.
But the reality is, the guy who founded modern Turkey actually set up the military to be somewhat quasi-independent, and to ensure from the government to ensure that they don't, elect radical people, right? And so really, the military was exercising their rights, and again, I don't know the specifics of it, but what I find somewhat amazing.
Obama was saying, that basically step down.
Yeah, well, I'm the number one guy who supports rule of law and all this other stuff. But when that rule of law becomes tyrannical, I support the right of every people for revolution, whether it be non-violent or violent. And so I thank God for our founding fathers who thought the same thing. Right.
And
so a popular uprising in Turkey, to overthrow an Islamic extremist, I would support 100%.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, but when you got people like POTUS, who enables Islamic extremists, it's just
telling them to back down. He was elected via democracy. Well, it's not a democracy anymore. He's turning it into into what you're trying to turn us into.
Yeah, well, the same thing happened in Chile. I think it was the late 70s, early 80s, right? So Chile had a vibrant democracy at the time. Actually, they had a democracy, if I understand the timeline right, they at the time actually had the oldest democracy on the planet, right? They actually had a democracy before the United States, 1776. But the people, right, had voted in a communist. Right, and the communist guy just immediately acted like all communists do, right? And so that's when General Pinochet, took over. Right, and so he had a military coup. He was the lead general there. Did a military coup, and he, ruled the country for a number of years before they, got democratic elections back and stuff. But in a case like that, again, I 100% support it. I don't care how many people
Who's going to do that for us?
Yeah, I don't care how many people vote communism in. I will always be against it. To the point of selling a whole lot of arms and stuff like that.
Right.
So. But anyway, so we've had the events in Nice. We've had obviously well, tell me a little bit more about what Clinton said. Did you hear anything on it?
Just what they were saying on the radio.
Yeah,
that basically telling the policemen that I don't know if they're overstepping their grounds or they're not being safe in what they're doing. But she's defending the bad guy.
Well, she was at a NAACP.
That's who she was speaking to.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
But the other point I wanted to talk about is, that I think all three officers now that were on trial, or at least, I don't know, there were more than three.
Yeah.
That had the bench decision in Baltimore. Yeah. So was it Rice or Bryce was his last name?
Yeah.
He was cleared. Do you know the only thing that they had him up there is because he didn't put a seatbelt on him?
No, yeah. He broke standard protocol of seatbelting somebody in now. Yeah, they all got off so far, right? Now, did they drop the rest of the charges on the other people, or are they still going for it? Yeah. And here's the amazing part about it. See, again, little things that the press, it doesn't come out in the press.
Of course not. Like I say, they lie by omission. They don't bring in all of the information, which completely takes everything out of context. But go ahead.
So, what was do you know who the judge was, by chance?
No, they said his name,
well, he was black. So the judge that let off these white guys who allegedly killed a black guy, the black guy let them all.
All on his own, because a bench decision is not by any jury. The other guys were all hung juries. That's why they were off. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Now I remember. Yeah.
And the down in
but isn't that, no one knew that? I didn't know that.
No, absolutely. You got to dig deep.
See
when I don't hear the press mention race,
then
I know that it's against their narrative.
Exactly.
That white people are bad, black people are good, black people are oppressed, all this other stuff.
And that only white people do bad things to black people.
No, absolutely. Well, and it's just like, it took me forever to find out that one of the Baton Rouge police officers was in fact black.
One was black. One was named Ramos. So if he was of Latino descent, I mean, I don't think they care. They're cops at that point. They don't even care. Yeah. It's just about being an officer. Yeah. Like they were saying on the radio today. First, it was the war against the Caucasian heterosexual. So now, so this is all in divisive mode. What your article's about, and then now it's against police officers. So what'll it be next? They're just going to go down the line.
Yeah.
What was the other thing I wanted to say? Shoot. Oh, there is this guy on Facebook, Terrence Williams. You can pull him up. Do you know what and not the
It rings
football
a
player.
bell. Yeah.
I know, that's why.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh, okay,
he's not the football player. He's just,
Right.
You will die laughing. He is a mess. He's chomping on fried chicken while
I think I've seen
talking
this.
about
I think I've seen this.
how crazy the world is gone and how he doesn't have any of his. He just goes off on his own kind. Let me say.
Yeah.
And
wait, is he fat, overweight, white,
no,
middle-aged
he's a black
guy?
man. He's probably like a 30-something-year-old black man.
Oh, okay.
And he has several
gotcha.
different.
I'm thinking of another guy who's chomping on chicken.
But he is so real and just so. But he says, y'all want to go to Africa? You go to Africa, see how Farrakhan treats you. He goes, you want to go to a dentist there? There's no dentist there. Forget about that. He goes, and if you're a lady and your husband whops you upside the head, you know what? You're whopped upside the head and nobody going to come help you. They don't even have cops there. I mean, he goes off. And of course, if you look at, and honestly, I look at the computer a total of 10 minutes a week, okay, and try to, there's all these people that says, oh my gosh, you're the mom. And of course, there's others that, so this is the point I was going to make. So somebody commented back to him that basically, you know what, you blankety blank. He says,
what rhymes with bigger,
right? Or no, they were calling Terrence, the guy doing the thing, and because he is sticking up for his white people and white friends, and said he's saying to the black people, stop blaming everyone else for where you're at, is his whole point.
Right.
But in saying that, oh my gosh, I keep forgetting my point here. That oh shoot.
I think I got a text message or something.
Okay, go on. I got to think about this because it was really.
Well, and
the point is, I guess, all of it. If you listen to him, that he's stop blaming everybody else and for your own problems.
Yeah.
But also that the cops is like he was also making that distinguish where it doesn't matter if they're black or white. You're just against the officer and against white people when that's not the problem. The problem is you need to look at yourself and your own life and what's going on.
Yeah. Well, the people such as Black Lives Matter, right? So they consider anybody that is in cahoots with the man being the white man.
Right.
That you're a sellout and you're an Uncle Tom.
Exactly.
Right. And so, you can't just have an educated opinion that's different. So unless you toe the line. And the reality is that's why, we have in America, we have anywhere from 85 to 95% of all the, in an election cycle, right? Blacks voting, Democrat. Yeah. And how's that working out for you?
I know. See, that's just it too. In the last 8 years, I mean, under any other presidency, if you're 30 years old, do you remember mass shootings or mass killings almost on a daily basis?
Yeah.
And they're going to blame everybody else, but who's been in charge in the last 8 years?
Yeah. Well, and again, it goes back to inner city issues as well, right? So the Democrats have ruled Chicago for since I think the 50s. And keep in mind, another perfect example is like Detroit. So Detroit in the whatever the 40s or the 50s or whatever, well, it was like the the Venice of the West or whatever, right?
Really?
I mean, it was a very a sort of a prestigious place to live. It was like New York City, but in Middle America,
in its day,
yeah, and then the Democrats took over. And the funny thing is, so again, this is my article.
3 years ago.
No, absolutely, they're totally. I mean, they used to have a population of like 2 or 3 million. They're down to about like 500,000, right? But they got a city that's built for 2 to 3 million, right? So you got just abject.
But it's all
decay. Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, so again, I think it's amazing how you talk about my article. But one of the things I talk about in my article this week is I talk about the Loudoun County. Because I was trying to get local. I've been doing so much national stuff. I wanted to get back to local, right? And so I talked about Loudoun County and the Board of Supervisors. That we had a good run. We had nine. We had supervisors, 9 Republicans for 4 years. And they did an okay job. I gave them a solid C right in the middle of the bell curve, right? But then I make the comment, and then the Democrats came. Right, and so what's the first? So they've been in power. Well, they're not even in power. There's 6 Republicans, 3 Democrats, right? But like the proverbial, I said item in the punch bowl, but like the proverbial turd in the punch bowl, right? Immediately, what do the Democrats want to do? They want to divide. So what's the first thing they do? Raise taxes. So they raise your property tax. Mm-hmm. So not only are you getting increased property taxes because the increased valuation of your house,
right?
They actually raise the per $1,000 rate as well, right? And a lot of people say, well, it's only a penny here, a penny there. Well, it adds up, right?
Absolutely,
Benjamin Franklin,
a penny here, a penny there, pretty much going to be penniless, and they're going to have everything.
No, absolutely. Benjamin Franklin's penny saved is penny earned. Is just as valid today as it was back then, right?
Exactly.
But and then, so what was the second thing they did? They tried to do this National Gun Awareness Day, right? And so the whole thing's a scam by Bloomberg organization, right? And the scam is that they just want to ban guns ultimately, right? So, but what's funny is they actually said, well, no, it's about the children. We're interested in child safety, right? So I looked up CDC, right? Okay. The Center for Disease Control.
Exactly.
How do most kids die? It ain't by guns.
Depends. No.
Motor vehicle accidents.
I was going to say
that's the number one.
Their car seats, motor vehicle
by
accidents.
far.
Yeah.
Right?
Even teenagers, number one killer of teens.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Get in a car. Yeah, and when you turn 16, the number of kids that die in motor vehicle, why? Because you're driving.
Exactly.
Right? So, and I think number 2 was like suffocation.
Yeah.
Right. Like accidental death. Thing like that. Now, what I did find amazing was, and this was an interesting stat. When you actually get into teen and you hit puberty, you sort of care what other people think about you.
Right.
Right. So all of a sudden you got this, obviously jumping suicides. Right?
Yeah.
But here's the deal: the number one killer or method of suicide for kids is in fact not handguns.
It's not a handgun.
It's suffocation.
See, I was going to say hanging, suffocation.
Yeah, suffocation, right? Yeah, no, absolutely, right? And so when I looked at all the the little kid deaths, I make the comment that we didn't have a national motor vehicle assault motor vehicle.
Statistics don't matter to these people. You could go on 100 years about statistics.
Yeah, and then the next one was so I said in my article, I said, well, what I legitimately would like to team with somebody on, from a concept, and the board should. Mm-hmm. Is a county-wide child suicide thing, right? I mean, we got a lot of kids, high school stuff. So we homeschool.
High school, social media, all this stuff. I wouldn't want to be a teenager today.
No, absolutely. It's just insane, right?
God bless those that make it
so too many kids, or a lot of kids, they just can't handle them. They end up killing themselves, right? Yeah. And so what's the unfortunate part about it is they place their value and self-worth based on other people's
what other people think
right?
of them.
And so, you and I as Christians, we have self-worth through another means, right? We actually had somebody that actually died for us, right?
It's like I know he loves me. I'm okay.
No, absolutely, right? Yeah. And when you're loved by the big man, I really don't care what other people think.
Exactly. Right? I mean, it's your choice, right?
No, absolutely, right?
It's I try if you don't like me, and I'm bummed, but you know what?
Yeah,
that's what counts.
No, absolutely. And so, instead of focusing on what is really the real problem, right, is teenage suicide, right? Well, and that's a mental health issue. Right, and they're supposed to be all over mental health. Right. And so, why not have a national, instead of National Gun Violence Awareness Day, a national Ziploc bag awareness day? Because if you're suffocating yourself, you're sticking your head in a Ziploc bag.
So on this subject, let me just jump in with this comment. So I ran into a gentleman who was sitting by himself at a restaurant reading a book.
Yeah.
So after a little while, I saw him lift up the book. Plunder and Deceit.
Really?
So you know me. My husband's like, sit down. I'm like, oh no. I said, I have to find out if he's reading to educate himself or if he's reading because he's on our side of the fence.
No, absolutely.
So of course he was CIA. You may know.
Oh, was he?
Of course he's so CIA. He gave me his first name, maybe.
No, absolutely.
Fell in love with them. Yeah. Awesome gentleman.
Oh, that's funny.
But when I was this close to getting my question on WMAL Saturday afternoon, the thunderstorm came through and I lost the connection. So I just go in the restaurant. I was so excited. But anyway, my question was going to be what I asked you. Why is the media so liberal? When did that happen?
Yeah.
So I asked him, and you know what he said? And this is sort of branching off of just that question. He said, back in, I guess it would be the Enlightenment in France, which would have been the 19th century, the 1800s, right?
Yeah.
That you have this era of passion versus reason.
No, absolutely.
So think about it. We are in an era of total passion versus any reason. Reason is out the window, because if it wasn't, none of this would be happening, right?
Yeah.
So in this era of passion, we are so self-centered and so self-possessed.
Yeah.
And he said that it almost causes a self-hatred.
Right.
So rather than hating yourself, you hate the hypocrisy of this.
Right.
And that's what, and I thought, wow, that was a brilliant answer to, I mean, think about it. People who are okay with who they are, whether it's in a one-on-one person relationship or a familial, 5 people or more relationship.
Yeah.
But this group of people that goes around saying, the elitists, oh, well, love everybody. I don't see you at any of the Stop Hunger Now events. I don't see you going to Haiti. I don't see you, but yet you're the one out there. I'm not even out there preaching all that. You want to go do it, go do it. But I just thought that was a very interesting perspective, but it makes total sense.
Well, Benjamin Franklin had a famous quote, and I'm going to butcher it, but he talks about governing with emotion, right? Which is, i.e., it's a bad thing. He says, it basically, when you govern with emotion, it never governs wisely, right? And the reality is, our Constitution, right, our bicameral, our structure of government, right? Executive branch, legislative. Well, the legislative branch was specifically broken down into, a Senate and a House for that very reason. So, the colonists knew what mob rule was like.
Right.
I mean, they had experienced it, right? I mean, they had seen, Americans, just beating the crap out of, British as a mob thing. And so, mobs are dangerous things, right?
Absolutely.
And that's why
mentality.
Yeah, and that's why and that's why, initially senators weren't direct elected. They were elected by state legislatures, right?
Yeah.
And they were done for 6-year terms and staggered, right? And that was to thwart these peaks of extremism,
right?
And regardless of what extreme towards, right?
Which way it went, right?
Yeah, and so you had the House. It was the people's house, and they could vote whatever they want to, and they could vote in a bunch of whack jobs.
Right.
But you still had this, thoughtful, deliberative body that averaged out, the volatility of mob rule, right? And again, it goes back to the brilliance of our founding fathers, who thought through this, and they weren't the initial originators of it. I mean, there was similar exemplars throughout the course of the history of mankind, but they just they lasted about 15 seconds. But the concept was good, right? They just couldn't get past,
Well, and another point to that is, I can't remember if he was talking, the gentleman at the restaurant, and talking about France, that a gentleman came over here, I don't know when he said, maybe back in the 60s and 70s, de Tocqueville was his name. Does that sound familiar to you? He wrote a book. But anyway, he was studying our system.
Tocqueville?
De Tocqueville.
Yeah.
Do you know about that?
Yeah, that was the guy that I've been talking to.
Okay, that's... So
I just call him Tocqueville.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was basically, studying our system to have it work. Why wouldn't it work in France? And do you know what he was told? He says, because those people, and this is not to say that we're supreme over all beings, are not Americans. He says Americans are different. Do you know why he said that?
No.
Because we are hard fighters, workers, and not people that want to be dependent or told what to do. We came we want to be independent in every way. And so unless you have that mentality, doesn't matter what you take over there. If their mentality is, well, to me it could be tribal or it could be dependent, but if that's what you learn and that's what he says Americans are a different group of people,
Yeah.
and the reason they came over here and what they had to do to make this happen, he goes, that's a different type of individual.
No, absolutely. Well, and actually, Tocqueville was one that basically came up with this idea of American, rugged individualism, right? But yeah, I mean, I just sort of finished reading a book. It was a book about Tocqueville because I wanted to make sure I understood where he was coming from when I actually read the book.
Okay, so are you reading a book that he wrote or a book about
No,
him?
I'm getting ready to read his book.
Okay.
Right.
And what's the title of it?
See, I knew you'd ask me that.
I'm going to get it after talking to this guy. I know.
No, I got so many book names, in my head.
I know, and I read like 3 things at once too, so I get my information for scrolls.
But I'm going to be so embarrassed when this hits the thing. But so I read a book about it, and the main reason was because I wanted to get the perspective, right, of why he came over and why he was doing it, versus just reading it, right? What was his agenda, right? Now here's the thing, it was probably Democracy in America. It was Democracy in America.
Okay,
that's what it's called. And the funny thing was he lied to get over here. So he was somebody. Well, here's the deal. He was 25 when he wrote that book. 25.
That's what you were saying. That this is that same.
No,
okay,
absolutely.
so I'm starting to put
25, and he's writing this brilliant book. The best, really, summary of the American experience.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I read the book about him because
again, you know what, you have to experience it. Just like people over here could say, they don't have it so bad in Africa.
Yeah.
Have you been there?
No, absolutely.
So to experience, just like to immerse yourself in a language, are you really going to learn it unless you're in Spain or wherever it is?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
yo hablo español un poco.
Poquito? No, that's
Dos cerveza por favor. That's the limit of
¿Dónde
my
está el baño? ¿Cómo está?
Hamburguesa con queso. Papas fritas grande. Por favor. What's funny is when I did speak Spanish, I spoke Spanish with a German accent, which is just funnier now.
No,
it was just
is that
funny.
What happened to
and
you?
I used to have people comment that they'd go like, "Are you from Germany?" No.
Do your German accent for me. That's really difficult.
Well, no, I don't have a German accent.
Well, then how did you speak Spanish with a German accent?
No, but that's the thing. I spoke Spanish with a German accent. So people thought I was from Europe. So I don't even know what a German accent is. But when I spoke Spanish, when I was speaking a lot, it was very dictatorial. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It was not a flowing. It was not a flowing.
No,
it was very dictatorial. Highly punctuated.
Like German horse trainers. You must hold your head down the entire time.
Yeah, I never had a good...
I'm double German, so...
Oh, so I'm like, half and half Italian, German kind of thing,
See,
right?
I don't want to be a mutt.
Yeah, but, the thing about it is, I've been over Germany a bunch, and, God bless them, but I don't particularly care for them. They're not my favorite people group. I'm just glad and the funny thing is, I'm really not even like British, but I clearly identify more with, the Brits, than, Italians or, Germans. That's just, who you choose
to... Is it the language or is it just when you go there? It is more like just New York City with an accent.
No.
That's London. New York with an accent across the sea.
Well, I don't know if I told you the story before, but, I was in Australia one time. They speak a different, English, right? And so I went to McDonald's and asked for a cheeseburger, and the woman didn't know what the hell I was talking about. What's a cheeseburger?
Really?
Yeah, and it was funny. It was like they called it something else, and so I'm going like, I'm at McDonald's. I know they got beef, and I know they got cheese here in Australia. And so I said, "Well, do you sell a hamburger?" "Yeah, we sell a hamburger." I said, "Okay, I want a cheeseburger." She goes, "What is that?" And I'm going like, "Is this a trick question?"
Am I missing something here?
So it's a hamburger with cheese on it, and then she said, "Oh, a blah." I said, "Yeah. A hamburger." With cheese on it.
Is that different in Australia? Really?
Yeah, it was just it's like the word for butter in Spanish, right? So when I was traveling Central South America,
what is butter?
Manquita or something like that. I can't remember what, but there was a couple of different things.
Monsanto, that's Apple.
Yeah, and Monsanto is a company, so I'm not. But it was funny because they would humor me, but you sort of wanted to use the right term for butter.
Sure. Yeah.
Anyway.
So how do you think right now other countries feel about us with all this going on?
Oh, I think they think that it's like just sad to see such a great nation has fallen so rapidly in such a short
amount of time. And that, again, I'm at a loss for words, but as far as leadership goes, when we, the most powerful country, and I want to say the most caring country in the world,
no, absolutely,
does not step up, then the peripherals that, even though they may not like us, they've counted on us. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so we don't step up to protect ourselves, let alone them. It's sort of like the whole cookie crumbles. It's missing the butter in there that kind of holds it all together. And you know what it makes me think of? Did you see the movie? Now, I know you're always the one saying, I'm like, what movie? But it was 40 Days and 40 Nights. It had Harrison Ford and the cute blonde actress, Anne Hesh. And she's this New York City, like, magazine, high career falutin chick that goes off on a vacation on an island with her boyfriend. And of course, there's some, Vogue emergency that she has to go back. So she hires Harrison Ford, who owns a private plane, to get her off the island, and it crashes as they come down. But the bottom line is this: so she's this tiny little, female, full of P&V, though. Okay, you gotta love her, because even though that she's not in charge of their situation, which is obviously not good, he kind of like is a put your face in here sort of thing, and yet she definitely gives, her opinion. Well, that's just stupid. But anyway, in one part, they're climbing up this mountain on the island because these pirates are after them. But now the whole time, like, she really is freaking out, and he is just like, okay, this is what's happening. This is what we're doing. At this point, he's freaking out. Okay, her leader. Right. Now, no one's ever said, "You're my leader. You're the follower." It's just obviously what's happening. Okay.
Right.
So when he's freaking out, she turns to him and says, "You can't freak out. I need you." And
one of us has to be sane, and it's not me.
Exactly. Right? I haven't been all along. You've been leading all along. I need you to be the leader now. I need you to.
Yeah.
But that's what we're not being now. Everyone else can be almost in double fear because we're not even going to come in and help, because we're not even helping ourselves right now.
Yeah, the thing is, and that was the brilliance of Ronald Reagan, right? So the great communicator, right? No, absolutely, right? And the thing was, he inspired a planet for democratic reform.
You know what? He inspired a planet for unity.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so, country after country, after falling to communism under Jimmy Carter, fell, out or fought for, freedom and liberty, under his. And the thing was, he didn't invade any countries,
No.
I mean, it was all by, inspiration and ideals.
Absolutely, which is really interesting because, the liberal side is always, well, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, we're at a point, these people, they never did want to talk.
Yeah, no.
But he actually, being a Republican, he did do it by talking, and you got, talk about a negotiator.
Yeah, well, and one of the big turning point was when he identified the Soviet Union for what it is, the evil empire. And when he said that, man, the press ripped him a new one, right? Yeah. But the reality was, there was a lot of people behind the curtain that basically said, hey, somebody finally gets it. Communism is an evil empire, right? That the reign of Soviet socialism is a reign of terror and evil, right? And that's where, a lot of these, Walenska or whatever the guy is, the Polish ship worker, right, who, basically... No. I mean, he basically, led the nation to, to freedom, right? And that's when you started to see the destruction of the Soviet Empire, right? Is when people could identify with the
reality of the situation,
what it was, and the benefits of liberty and freedom, right? Man's natural right to be free.
Independent,
right, and that's free from coercion, free from imprisonment, freedom of speech. I mean, all those freedoms; those are all natural rights, right? No man is born, into slavery, right? There is no, right by society to imprison.
No, and they want to preach nobody's better than anybody else. Well, then why should they be in charge of you? If they're not better than you, why should they be in charge
I'd like to
of you?
see, most of our governments cut by 2/3 as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. I tell you what, I just paid my taxes. I'm thinking about going mobile.
You pay taxes on your sales tax? Or do you pay sales tax?
Yeah, I pay sales tax.
If I get a haircut, do you pay a sales tax? Do I pay a sales tax? Because that's a service.
Sales tax, right. No, not on the service, but if you bought a product.
Right,
yes.
okay, got it. Yeah.
But taxes are killing me.
Yeah.
I'm basically in business so they can spend my money.
Oh, yeah. Well, listen, this is a common fact, and it's true in my life as well. The American family's biggest bill is taxes. So who's your master?
Exactly.
Right?
Don't you want to be your master?
No, absolutely. My biggest bill, monthly, when you talk about all the taxes combined, so Social Security, it's a tax, federal, state, property, sales tax, all this stuff, is my largest single bill.
Absolutely. Look at I used to, as a paycheck, look at my my gross income, and then after everything.
No, absolutely.
That's why I said that one day. We didn't really actually start making money until after lunch.
Oh,
after
absolutely.
12:30.
No, absolutely. Well, and what was funny was when I used to travel a lot, we'd work overtime, right? Mm-hmm. And I got to the point where I try to minimize overtime as much as possible.
Yeah, because
I remember one time I got an overtime check, and it was hardly more than what I normally made.
Right.
And I'm going like, they must not have paid me for my overtime.
Exactly.
And then it had
or
bumped
if they
me up.
missed paying you something, they're going to add it to your next paycheck.
Yeah. Yeah, they had bumped me into the next tax bracket, and they just raped and pillaged, the income. I said, well, screw this, man. And so, but yeah, no, it's unfortunate. But yeah, we have a nation that's just running out of control.
The greed at the top.
Yeah.
And the fact that it'll never be enough. You can give them 100% of your money. It is never going to be enough.
Yeah, and the funny thing is the left bashes corporate America, greed, right? But the reality is their greed doesn't pick. Their greed doesn't pick my pocket.
Exactly.
Right? The greed of politicians picks my pocket.
Exactly.
So regardless,
could possibly hire you if you wanted a job.
No, absolutely, right? But the reality is, I don't personally own an Apple phone, right? So Apple is like the largest. Whatever business in the planet, whatever the case may be, a large business, right? And but the reality is, I have contributed, myself, functionally zero, because I've never had an iPad. I did buy one iTouch one time, right? But I don't have an iPhone. I don't have anything, right? So they're not raping me. I don't care how much they charge for a phone. I'm not buying it.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, my wife has one, and my kids have bought it, but I don't care. It's none of my business. I don't care.
Right. Exactly.
You spend your money the way you want to. I'll spend mine.
Exactly.
As far as I'm concerned, I'd have a hand.
And I don't need the government to tell me who to donate my money to. I got plenty of people I'd like to.
Well, what's funny is so Loudoun County apparently put on hold $50,000 to nonprofits in Loudoun County, right? For who knows why? I didn't even read the article, but I'm thinking, like, why the hell is Loudoun County giving my money to nonprofits?
If you have money left over, it should come back to the people.
No, absolutely. And somehow we're giving money to nonprofits. Now, I'll give money to who I want to. So if I care about horses, right? So you send out that one link, for the horse thing, right? Or if you care about animals or whatever stuff, knock yourself out.
We can't do that anymore because you can't do that anymore because they're sucking you dry.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
They're going to decide how to.
Yeah.
They're too much.
Yeah. And the sad part about it is,
And you know what? We're the bosses. And we're sitting back here. I just have to say, there is hundreds of them and thousands of us. Yeah. Why can we not just...
Oh, eventually
we're just going to have to go...
We're rapidly heading that way. I mean, you kill a few thousand more cops,
Something's got to happen.
And somebody declares martial law.
I don't really want a revolution. I would love to do this by voting someone out or into office. But seriously, their mentality is so out of control. Yeah. It doesn't look like that
Yeah. Well, and I made this like really clear, you know, and many a times is that, you know, I will not willingly give up my firearms, period.
Yeah, you and a lot of others.
Yeah.
Did you see that the motorcycle guy, they're like something for Trump motorcycle, I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you see that? He's,
All the ones
from
that,
Ohio.
was there one or a bunch
They're
of
around
them?
in I guess they were from
yeah,
Ohio.
yeah.
But they were traveling around, you know, trying to gather up support
Yeah.
for him. So speaking of that, before we go, give us your opinion on Pence.
Oh, you know, I'm glad he picked him, right? I'm definitely glad he didn't pick Governor Krispy Kreme.
Oh,
Because I
you're mean.
that is one,
I knew that
one
wasn't gonna happen.
Republican. That's one Republican I just loathe. You know.
We'll talk about why that later. And then why are you glad he didn't pick Newt, or you wished he had?
Well, I would have preferred Newt. But the other reality is, I actually understand.
Is that Pence really balances him out.
No, absolutely. Yeah, you know, again, it's all about, you know, what point you're trying to make. So
right.
you know, you pick Newt. You know, he's a worn out, you know, retread. You know, even though he's still brilliant, right? But you know, he's been around. He's part of the establishment.
Right.
You know, Pence, he's not. He's a governor.
Yeah.
He has you know, experience in the executive branch. You know, and he's got some, you know, conservative
He has new
affinities. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, you know, I don't have an issue.
No,
with
I
it.
think it's super.
Well, right now, you know, so my article last week was about how I, Warner Workman, as a staunch, one, heterosexual, but two, Ted Cruz supporter, you know, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah. Is he speaking?
Yeah, well, at some point, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but and my article was talking about, you know, if all you never Trumpers are just boneheads.
Are you not concerned about national security because Hillary's not? And when people say that Trump is so scary, I'll agree. Like, would he be my number one pick really for anything?
No,
not even a husband. As much as I'd love to have some of those bugs. Of course, he'd look at me and go, "Ew, you have bugs on your face" or something. But I mean, I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
But I can't get over the people in Benghazi. I cannot get over that. But she can outright lie, outright get away with it. But this is the scariest thing of all now. They are a machine at the top that is obviously, with 37 people, 6 feet under, that nobody's questioning.
Oh, yeah.
It's all going to trickle down to you and me.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you don't, it's
all about power, all about money.
Yeah. So when people say he's scary, I'm like, seriously?
What I haven't figured out is, what is he scary for?
Exactly.
Right?
No
I mean,
one
give
ever
me
says
something.
that.
What, you know, and that was
lady
like,
in the
he's
gym
a
this
new
morning,
hero.
he scares me. For exactly what reason?
Because he says dumb
Let me tell you what it
things?
is. Exactly. Well, then it should make you feel really smart.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think women say it because women are offended when another lady gets called ugly, because if they don't feel pretty and if they don't think,
man.
and I mean,
it
do
goes
you
back
think
to
I
that
give a flying leap whether
self-esteem.
Trump? Exactly. It's the self-hatred thing.
No, absolutely, yeah.
Who cares if Trump? I mean, honestly, no. Does he have? He's like me. He has no words. Okay.
Yeah.
She'd make a lousy president. I'm like, could you come up with a better word than lousy? It
No,
sounds like we're
absolutely.
sitting around the bonfire.
No, absolutely, yeah. Yeah. No, and that's the thing is that, you know, there's nothing in his history that, you know, he was never a member of the Nazi Party, right? He never had a little bitty mustache, you know, little things like
No.
that. And so why people say that, I've never figured that out. I mean, I wrote an article that was not published because it was censored, but where, you know, we're more likely to see, you know, Adolf Hitler at the Democratic National Convention than the Republican.
And we're probably going to be going.
Because the Democrats are the ones who do the tactics of the left.
Of the left, yeah.
So people try to say, oh, Adolf Hitler was a right-wing nut job. No. He had nothing to do with right-wing, right? Because he nationalized health care. He, you know, confiscated firearms. He, you know, practiced politics of division by, you know, talking, you know, about the Jews, you know, and he had a police state. He nationalized the police force. All of those things are either have been or currently being done by the Democrats, the left, right? Not the right, the left. You know,
But everything that doesn't turn out right is their fault.
No, absolutely, yeah. But anyway, so we are running long. here.
Yeah,
It's almost
really,
15
seriously.
minutes. This
We
will be the
probably
Liberty
went.
Radio Hour. This
It
will be. When I
We
put the header
lied.
and the footer on it, it'll be over.
It really, we told the truth this time. It really is an
Absolutely.
hour.
So with that said, you know, bottom line is we started out with just you know, more Islamic extremism killings, and we can say the same thing about the police killings in the United States, both Black Lives Matter backed and Islamic extremism, you know, backed, right? And then, you know, basically rolled into freedom and liberty conversations, right? It's all tied in together. You can't talk about
It's all
one
in the
and,
same pie.
yeah, not related to the other.
I just want to say to all the police officers, please be safe. We love you.
No, absolutely right.
And firemen.
Yeah, no.
Do you know what the firemen did for the Fairfax County Police Department? They hand them over. This is the sweetest thing.
Yeah.
You guys are so good sometimes. The fire department in Fairfax had the officers over, and they cooked for them and fed them. Isn't that neat?
Oh wow!
Yeah.
No, that's neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. You know, I mean, we all want to be about law and order.
Exactly.
You know, kind of thing. And so,
Nobody hates anybody.
yeah, you know, Hillary Clinton up in the NAACP should have basically told them, you know, the king has no clothes, right? They should have been a come
Right.
to, like we used to call it come to Jesus.
I was
meeting,
just
right?
going to say, come to Jesus. meeting.
You know, about y'all guys have a problem, you don't need to work it out.
Right.
Right, because here's the deal. So we live in Lovetteville, right? The reality is, you know, it's 99% white.
Are we?
Pretty dang close, right? And, you know, we don't have mass shootings. We don't have mass killings.
Let's
we
hope
don't have
not.
demonstrations. We don't have
No,
major
because
crime.
the population is not enough for, I guess, not to
Yeah,
make a big.
and why?
dent.
Because this is a middle class, family oriented,
Mhm.
you know, neighborhood. So it's not because we're white.
And most families love it here.
No, absolutely. It's because
And they come here from Ashland. Do you know how many people move here from
Yeah.
from east of here? Whether
No,
it's 10
absolutely.
miles, 20 miles.
yeah. No, absolutely right, and you know, but this is just a community that has a certain you know, demographic, and I'm not talking about race. I'm talking about, you know, families,
Right.
right, and you know, people who work
Right.
and who go to work,
Yeah.
right, and pay taxes,
And want
right?
to share in that. Right.
Yeah, and you know, and so there's an ethos that's around here that is absent in the inner cities.
Right.
But you know, it used to be in the inner cities.
Yeah.
Right, but those days are long gone because, you know, the left took over most of the
Right.
major cities.
Right.
Yeah.
And yet it's our fault.
Yep.
Shoot, forgot what I was going to say.
Yeah. Well, it's been an hour,
It's
so
been an
let's
hour,
sign off.
So we should sign off. And
Yeah. So
start up
I'll
again
let you
next
do
week.
the So again, today, what did we say today was the 18th?
Today was the 18th.
Right.
Today was the 18th. Today is the
You know,
18th.
You think we can go a week without a police execution?
Oh my gosh. Let's hope so.
I don't know. I just think we're.
Let's
I think
go a
we're,
week without any.
I think we're free falling over the cliff at the moment. I think the only thing that's going to stop us is what lies below. Yeah. So, well, we'll see. So
everybody
next week it's going to be
just
the 25th.
Good thoughts out there that nothing else happens.
Yeah. And, you know, as with everything else, you know, part of natural law, everybody has a natural right to defend themselves from violence,
Yeah.
right? And so, you know, and everybody.
Because they're counting on the soft spots.
No, absolutely, right? And you know, East was a soft spot.
Movie places are soft spots.
Yeah,
Think
no,
about it.
absolutely, right.
Yeah. And they
You know.
know it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So with that said,
Okay, with
sign
that
off
said,
for us.
yeah. Stay safe. Be aware. Till next week.
I got multiple coffee mugs. But anyway, yeah. So, yeah, this is Warner Workman signing off.
And Darcy Shaka, sidekick.
Yeah.
Till next week.
So God bless, and we'll see you guys next week on July 25th.
That's right.
Right? Hasta la vista.
Bye.
Baby. See, you should have said baby.
Baby.
Hasta la vista.
Baby.
There you go.